freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your recap for this week's Sentry Tournament of Champions. I'm sure nothing too crazy happened today. Mark Immelman is here. Mark, good to see you.
Good to see you, Rick. I heard about your golf your golf today. That made me excited. But just quickly to tee you up, on the show yesterday evening, I said I was prepared to bet the farm on Morikawa. So you can consider the farm no longer part of my ledger because of what happened today.
You are down one farm. We will keep track of your farm count for the rest of the year. Greg DuCharme is here. Gregor's good to see you.
Yeah, it went pretty much as we all expected, except for Mark, I guess, and me, and Sia, and probably everybody else in the world of golf. That was something else. It's difficult to watch. It's cool in one sense because the PGA Tour every single week gives us a great show on Sunday in the last couple of holes. But on the other hand, I feel just like Colin Morikawa, I feel sadness for him. It's never easy to watch something like that.
It's funny you say that, Greg, because before you guys clicked on, I was speaking with our producer, Troy, and he was like, wow, that was rough. And I said to him, I sort of feel sick to my stomach a little bit, watching this sort of stuff and knowing what players are going through and how quickly everything can come apart at the seams. But then I made the sort of sick joke. I'm like, well, if this was that other tour, we wouldn't have the story. Morikawa would be 4 million deep and taking Sunday off kind of thing. So, yeah, it's 72 holes is why we play 72 holes. And it proved that, I guess over the long haul, the cream's going to rest at the top.
For those just tuning in, wondering what happened on Sunday, look back to Saturday evening. Colin Morikawa goes to bed with a 6-shot lead, and he starts off just fine. 3 birdies in his first 6, and that's kind of the hardest stretch of golf on the Plantation course at Kapalua. This was going to be a coronation. It was a lead that grew to 7 strokes, and then the wheels fell off. Morikawa melted down. He played his final 12 holes at 2 over par, and John Rahm chased him down.
Yes, he did. Now, yesterday we were talking about this, and what kind of scenarios could come up to make this thing close, and it felt like the even par round for Colin Morikawa would be 4 under, anything in the 60s, and he would get it done. It turns out that that's exactly what it would have taken, right? If he shoots 4 under, he wins by 1. And it gets really difficult to catch him when he shoots in the 60s. And when you're looking at a guy that shot rounds of, 65 on Saturday, 66 on Friday, 64 on Sunday, and made it look so easy, it's hard to imagine him not able to shoot in the 60s. And then you get off to that start through the first 6 holes and you 3-putted 5, and he's still 3 under through 6. And this is over. This is just what we expected. Nice to see him still making putts and making birdies and hitting good shots. And it's going to be a cruise all the way down. We're going to be enjoying the whales and the views and the drone shots and enjoying Hawaii in kind of a relaxing fashion. And boy, then you're reminded that this is golf.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Mark, it was 67 bogey-free holes to start this tournament. For those keeping track at home, they only play 72. So you start 67 without a bogey, you're doing a pretty good job. Then he bogeys 14, 15, and 16. He was the only player all week to go back-to-back bogeys at 14 and 15. Those are 2 very easy holes. And things just started spinning quickly, right? I mean, I know this happens to me all the time. It happens to the professionals a lot less, but things were spinning very quickly.
No, it happens to the professionals a lot. And more often than not, it happens at the least opportune moments. And more often than not, golf is the strange way, or this golf ball, I should say, has a strange way of finding places that are going to expose your weakness. And Colin Morikawa has done fantastic work over a very short space of time with Cameron on his pitching and stuff around the greens, and then Parker McLaughlin, I should say, and then of course with Stephen Sweeney on the greens. And so all of a sudden, here he is, and everything's going swimmingly, and he's making putts and making saves and hitting good shots, and was cruising, as you say. But then you're faced with that pitch from behind 14 green, which is like lightning, and you're playing defensively on that. But then you overread that putt down the hill, which is forgivable. But then to get to the par 5, the next hole, which is statistically, as far as I can guess, and from my experience there, the easiest hole on the golf course. We saw John Rahm hit like a wedge in there today. It's 530 something par 5. And he sort of necks a tee shot down there. That's forgivable. But from there, you can't really go to for the green unless you've got a really good lie. So it leaves it in a place where the pitching technique was likely to be exposed. And I had a friend over for dinner. In fact, the guy who works with Russell Henley on his fitness. And we were just catching up. And so we looked at the TV, and I looked at him. I'm like, if stuff's going to go wrong, it's about to go wrong here. And he looked at me and he goes, you think? I'm like, everything about this, into the grain, tight flag, ball coming back to you, that pitching action that has been going fine right now, all of a sudden, this is real. And turns out that sadly, my prediction was manifest. And then that next shot, I thought he did pretty well. But then now you're thinking, right? And last night I said to Greg, the thing about that golf course is there's not a whole lot of fans around, and it's so spread out, you don't get a lot of noise. And then the wind's blowing down the hill, so you don't really hear much of what's going on. So you can't hear roars from a front like the Rahm Eagle and stuff. And there are very few leaderboards. But the one leaderboard there is right behind that 15th green. And there's one, I think, behind 16 and next to 17T as well. So now Morikawa looks up, I'm sure, and sees Rahm at 26 or whatever he is. And now you got 6 feet left to ride downhill, which you don't want to wish on your worst enemy. He misses that. And all of a sudden, then the wedge on the next hole was disastrous, from a decent lie. And you could just see that everything moved fast to your observation. And all of a sudden, the guy that looked positively bulletproof wasn't that, because it's such a human game, and it's just the way the things work out. So it happens to the worst of them. And honestly, like I said, it was sort of sickening for me to watch a little bit.
Yeah, difficult to watch down the stretch indeed. We'll add another voice to the conversation. I believe we have Kyle Porter here. There he is. KP, hey, bud.
What up?
How's it going?
I'm great. It's turned into a fun evening of golf.
Not for everybody.
Yeah, no.
Well, for us, I mean,
us.
yeah, it sucks for Morikawa, but it was better than a blowout for us.
Yeah, KP, I'll bounce this right back to you. Get you out of the gate here. I love Mark's point here, and this happens a lot. We talk about this a lot in baseball too, where the ball always finds like that guy, right? It's bottom of the 9th. Your third baseman doesn't have the shortest hands in the world, and that ball's going to find him. He's gonna have to make a play. Morikawa chunks one and has a ball roll back to his feet on 15, and then gets a similar opportunity on 16. Like the ball, it's just gonna find you when things are going sideways.
Yeah, it really did. And I thought it really spoke to just how, I mean, sometimes the way that we talk about golf is like, how's your swing? How, what's your ball speed? How far do you hit it? Like stuff like that. And it's, at that level, I think it's easy to forget how much of it is mental, especially when you're trying to close out events. And you could almost see on his face and in his demeanor just the stuff that was going through his head. And this is a little bit of this hasn't really happened to him before, right? Like and I mean, at the beginning of his career, he just won a ton. He won like 50 or 5 of his first 50 events or whatever it was, 6 of his first 60. And now over the last, really since the Hero, when he blows the 6-stroke lead at the Hero, when he's going to become number 1, there's just a bunch of stuff that it hasn't gone his way. If you look at his numbers, Rick, over the first 2 years of his career, he probably shouldn't have won as much as he did. Like he got those bounces. And now they're going against him, and mentally that can wear you out, especially when you think early on in your career, like, oh, these things are just going to fall my way. And then when they start to not, I mean, his interview afterwards, I don't know if you guys maybe had already started. I was finishing up some writing, but he looked pretty dejected. And I'm bullish on Morikawa's year. I think he's going to be actually really good this year, but it's just a mental war that I think when you're really, really young and you win a bunch, you don't realize what that's going to be like.
Let's give that timeline here, Greg. The last 13 months for Collin Morikawa. Kyle referenced it. The 2021 Hero World Challenge. It was another, I think it was a 6 shot. Was it 5 or 6 shots heading into the
6? Oh, was it 5?
I think they said. I think they were saying 5 on the broadcast.
Okay. Either
way, this is an event that he had a stranglehold on that, as Kyle mentioned, would have vaulted him to the number 1 player in the world. He shoots a 76.4 over, finishes T5, then has the 2022 year, which was, pretty darn good. But if you ask him, it was like the worst year of his entire life, and he struggled with a lot of things and didn't win anything and all that stuff. It was still pretty good. And then we have this event here, of course, where he blows a 6-shot lead overnight. At some point, it got to 7 shots. So, level of concern. I mean, what does that 13 months speak to?
Man, well, it's interesting you brought up he had a chance to reach number 1 in the world at the Hero, and the Hero is kind of it's a low-key event. There's not a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of stress. It's
on an island.
Great on an island. Yeah, it kind of has a similar feel to this. I know this was a designated event and it means a lot more this year than it has, but there's always that feel of, hey, this is an ease into the calendar year. And we've seen this golf course be very friendly to leaders. And look, at the Hero World Challenge, it doesn't really matter who wins. It may matter to you, and I'm sure it matters to the players, but it's an unofficial thing. It's a gathering. It's a nice event to win, but it's not changing your career. And I wonder if that's in the back of players' minds. But when all of a sudden you have a chance to become world number 1, it means a little bit more. And if that's not in your head, well, I think that has to creep in your mind at some point. And it's so interesting to think when there are collapses like this, what will the return be like? And when he didn't get it done at the Hero World Challenge, most people, including myself, thought, oh, well, he'll get there. It didn't happen this week, but he'll get there, and he didn't. And you see him play this week, and you think, okay, yeah, this is a guy who could be the best player in the world. He looks pretty invincible. It doesn't look like there are very many holes. And then all of a sudden, holes start up. So level of concern, what does he have to do to shore these things up under the gun? Because if you have ghosts like Jordan Spieth at number 12 at Augusta National, there are many players with many situations at Augusta National and in major championships where this kind of thing has led to, I mean, you could argue Rory McIlroy from way back in 2011, right? These situations, when these things happen, they hit hard. And it doesn't always mean they're never going to win again. It just, you wonder how long this will affect him, because this stings, and you could hear it in the post-round interview. That was about as dejected as I've ever heard a player in a post-round interview.
Greg, there's no doubt he would be dejected because there's a lot on the line. And for these guys, I think it sort of gets missed at times that they're professionals. And whether it's the Hero World Challenge or this place, beating your peers is how they're measured. And so this will sting. There's no doubt about it. It will. But as far as identifying, weaknesses and shoring them up, it looks to me like he's seriously on the way. He's made some smart decisions. He's doing the right thing from my sort of understanding of golf and the golf swing and stuff. So I think that's okay. I think where there might be an issue is how many opportunities does one get? And now he's going to go home and he's going to identify those places like the pitch shot into the grain, uphill, tidal eye, that sort of thing, under pressure. And you simulate that as much as you can and you work on it. But, the test for this thing is under pressure. And now when is that going to happen again? Because that pitch shot Thursday afternoon is way different from that pitch shot Sunday afternoon when you're in contention. So I think he's on the way. I'm sure he's believing in what he's doing. I'm sure he'll connect with folks and they'll talk about what's going on, and McLaughlin will give his take and they'll work on the thing. but it's just about opportunities now. When is he going to get to test that shot again? And the more time there is, water under the bridge, if you will, sometimes that's a good thing, and sometimes it isn't. So I think he'll bounce back. He's that sort of a guy, but right now it's going to hurt pretty hard.
To put a bow on the Colin Morikawa story, we still have to get to the winner of the Sentry Tournament of Champions, Kyle. The credit to Colin. He does not have to do media after this round. He doesn't. He does it anyway. They asked him how he felt. He just said he's feeling sadness. And then there was that dejection that both Greg and Mark have referenced. And this one, you know, we kind of talked about this a little bit before. He's been his toughest critic. You know, I don't think that the media has been tough on him. I don't think his peers or he has kind of alluded to the fact that he's not playing as well, or the results are not happening as well as he would like them to have. So this is kind of something else that he's going to have to think about as he lays his head down on his pillow.
Well, yeah. And it goes back to what I was referencing earlier of like, he's so talented, and he's one of the 3 best ball strikers in the world. Probably throw Zalatoris, maybe JT in there, and at least statistically. And he's at a point in his career where the talent's there. I mean, we're talking about last year, like he was like gonna fall off to the Corn Ferry Tour. He finished 5th at the U.S. Open and like 6th at the Masters. Like he had a good year.
And you remember what we were saying at the U.S. Open? Like, this is a problem. This guy's a problem. Yeah, we said that like on repeat.
And but part of the reason was he was talking as if he was going to the Corn Ferry Tour, and you're like, hold on, what's actually going on here? And I think so much, and this is a little bit, I think what Mark was alluding to, so much of what he's going to have to deal with for the rest of his career, not just this year, not just this season or whatever, is going to be mentally, can you bounce back? We saw it's a little bit the Spieth story of like, you have so much success early on and you're on top of the world and you're like, I'm going to win 10 majors, right? That's what you would never say that. That's probably what he's thinking. Like, I'm good enough to win 10 majors. And golf is not like that. Like, it doesn't play out like that for anybody except for Tiger. And so mentally, how do you bounce back from stuff like, this is not like a huge blip on his career, but how do you bounce back from this? How do you go to Torrey and contend there, go to Phoenix and maybe win that? You know, I just think so much of what he's so gifted and he's so driven. I think so much of what he's going to have to deal with from this point forward is going to be mental. And I think he's pretty mentally tough. We've seen that at major championships. So I'm fascinated to see what that is like for him, how it plays out over the next, not just the next couple tournaments, but the next couple of years.
25 under par, Sunday 72. Colin Morikawa solo second to John Rahm. The inevitable John Rahm. Mark Immelman, a Sunday 63. Looking at this scorecard, a bogey out of the gate. It's over. It's over. It's a runaway. Gets it right back at 2. Finds 3 more at 4, 5, and 6. Tacks another on at 9, makes the turn in 4 under, and here we go. 12, 13, 14, 15, birdie, big bird. That's an eagle. And then another 4 on 18. John Rahm starts his 2023 off in a big way.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, you can look at the numbers and talk about the ball striking and all that sort of stuff. And I think course history was a big deal at this place because he's been so good around here. It just sort of fits with him, and he's got the family out, and it's a relaxed kind of a start to the season. But I want to point to confidence. And this is a guy who was downright unbeatable really through the fall, wherever he played. He was basically winning or finishing runner-up in all the events he played in. And so confidence was there. And then the first round, he opens up and just looks like he could have shot the grass off that golf course and shot 63 or whatever he did in round 164. I think it was 8 or 9 under.
64. Yeah.
And then the hole starts looking the size of a thimble in round 2, and everything's going bananas, and he's losing his mind. And Saturday wasn't much better, but it was just enough that he sort of kept himself in the thing. Then all of a sudden, 1 or 2 putts start going down. And then you could see there was a moment there on the back nine. I feel like, the birdie on 12 was a pretty big one to sort of get things going. But then up 14 there, that uphill, that short par 4, that tee shot's not as easy as the pros make it look, because you got all that huge hay down the right-hand side. If you tweak one, there's a cart path down the left of that fairway bunker, and you hit it into Kingdom Come down the left. And it's normally into the wind, and he hits one green side there, and off into the grain lie with this little mound in front of him. He pitches it up there to give. And I'm like, now, wait a second. Now he gets to 22 or 3, and all of a sudden you could see like, all right, 5th gear. And then it was 6th gear. And then he hits wedge into the par 5. And it looked like, hold on, this is a different human being. And it's just one of those things where these guys are just looking for that little special something. These generational guys like a Rahm or a McIlroy or Tiger something. And they just lurk around the place, and then something happens. And they capitalize. And then you can just see the afterburners get switched on. And that's exactly what he did, because he did not miss from then on. And it was virtuoso. It was fun to watch. I got to be honest with you.
As we learned, Greg, in our trivia session a couple of weeks ago, golf is played outside the U.S., Kyle. And if you haven't been paying attention, John Rahm wins the Spanish Open, wins the DP World Tour Championship, wins here. That's 3 trophies in his last 5 starts, and we are just getting started on a new PGA Tour year.
Yeah, and it's something that we have all kind of agreed on. I know you've been huge on it. It just felt like a big year on the way for John Rahm. And, well, if you didn't think so before, you definitely think so now, because this was an unbelievable performance. But, what I find so interesting about Rahm's win here, he has played a great Sunday round, whether in or out of contention. But after, in his post-round interview, he talked about the bogey at 1 and how winning really wasn't on his mind. And winning didn't really get to his mind until he made eagle at 15. So he is playing that entire round, just trying to do the best he can. Right? He's just trying to make as many birdies as he can. And Collin Morikawa, conversely, is thinking about winning not only from the first tee to the end of the day, or till at least 14 or 15, somewhere in there. He's thinking about winning on Friday night. He's thinking about winning on Saturday night. He's thinking about winning on Sunday morning. And I think that the weight of that is so heavy. It's so heavy it can bring you to tears, like it did Scottie Scheffler at the Masters last year. Just imagine if Scottie Scheffler did what Collin Morikawa did at the Masters, and Rory ended up winning the Masters last year. I mean, that's the kind of thing that it takes, right? There so much has to come together to win a golf tournament. As good as you can be, the other guys are trying to win too. And it breaks my heart for Morikawa, but I love the ability for a John Rahm to play that kind of inspired golf when he doesn't feel like he has a chance to win. He's playing the very best he can until the whistle blows. And at the end of it, we'll add it all up. And it's such a great attitude to have. And it's the attitude you have to have regardless of what side you're on. If you're winning or losing, you have to play that way, because it is 72 holes for a reason.
It's the 8th victory on the PGA Tour, KP, for John Rahm. Obviously, the only win last year was the Mexico Open. He was 3.5 to 1 to win that week in a weaker field. He was the headliner, gets one here out of the gate, and it starts to feel like John Rahm is probably going to be the favorite every time he tees it up, and he's going to be graded on victories. Feels like the only way he grades himself, and probably the only way we're going to start grading him now.
Well, with a watered down PGA Tour now that all these live guys are gone, it's pretty easy to win tournaments. So, no, I mean, listen, I think to me, like, I know what the world rankings say. I think it's Rahm and Rory and everybody else. Like, I think they're just so clearly the 2 best guys in the world right now. And I think Rahm, for whatever reason, he gets a little bit like his numbers not statistically, but like his finishes and his wins, it's extraordinary. I mean, I put this out there, but now it's 54 of his last 89 events in the OWGR events. He's finished in the top 10. So that's Euro Tour, some PGA Tour, mostly PGA Tour, but some other stuff sprinkled in there. And he's just always in it. You know, he's just always up there. And it's, I think because of that, people think that he doesn't win that much. His winning percentage on the PGA Tour, I haven't calculated it today, but it's like 9 or 10%. It's really, really high. And one of these years, I think I said this last year, I was like, he's going to win 5 times this year. I feel like that every first week of January because of he's just always in it. He's just always around the lead, or you know, he'll do something like he did today. And I think there is going to be a year in the next 5 or 6 years where he wins like 5 to 7 times in a season. Like I really think that, like, he's that good. And one of those is going to be a major. And I think hopefully at some point people will be like, okay, yeah, I get it. Like he's as good, if not better than Rory. And Rory said that after the DP World Tour finals last year. Like this guy is he goes, I know I'm number 1 in the world, but this guy's right there. Like he's that good. So I'm excited for his season. I'm excited to see kind of what comes of it.
Rick, if I may, in my experience, you know, being around these players, there's always something you point to with certain golfers, and I always sort of say to players I've worked with, is that winners will find a way. And to me, as I watch John Rahm, he's such an ode to Seve Ballesteros and Jose Maria Olazabal, because they're sort of the two elder statesmen of Spanish golf, and both of those guys, even when they didn't have their best stuff, would find a way to win tournaments. Heck, I mean, Jose Maria Olazabal won a Masters basically on one leg after he was out for so long with the arthritis in his foot. And then you have Sergio Garcia come along, who should have won so much more than he did, but he would find a way to almost not win events. And then you have a few other really talented golfers, those ones that sort of turn your head, and they don't win as much as they should. And there's something about Rahm, he's just got that. He's got that special something that when he gets into position and he gets a sniff of the lead, he is not going away. And it's all really, in my estimations, Rahm managing Rahm. Because oftentimes I think he can be his worst enemy a little bit because he gets a little hot around his collar. But he managed that some. He kept a bad round decent this week, and so he kept himself in it. Now, even like Greg was saying, with Morikawa so far out in front, you're just pedaling, and you're just trying to make up some ground. But then all of a sudden, when he got a chance, like I said, the guy just turned into a different player, and he's sort of Seve-esque in that way. And I think it's a beautiful ode to the Spanish golf, this armada of players throughout the years that have been so great.
Looking at the rest of this leaderboard, tied for 3rd, Tom Hoge. Love to see that. Greg, Max Homa, slow start with newfound perspective, went 63-69 on the weekend. My
66.
Math, excuse me. Yes, you're absolutely right. My math says that is 129. To put that into perspective, John Rahm, winner of said event, shot a 130 on the weekend. And then Tom Kim, along with JJ Spawn, rounding out our top 5. There's some good storylines here.
Yeah. This is what designated events are all about, right? I mean, I know in this shortened field, you're much more likely to see a leaderboard like this. There are much more limited options, and we'll see in the remaining designated events, but it's off to a pretty good start. And Max Homa has really proven that what he did last year was not a fluke. And I think he showed that all year. And we were kind of hot on that trail where it was gradual improvement. It was development that has lasted, and it lasted right to this week. And he kind of went out and shot a calm 10 under on Saturday, and now he's a little bit closer to the lead, and he goes out and plays another great round, is able to play really controlled golf, and then still has that ability to get hot at certain points in the round when the holes provide it. And that's exactly what he did today. And Tom Kim, finally, I think he is just going to continue to show us that he's for real, that he really is that good. And it's a question to me of, is Tom Kim going to get down one of these Morikawa Spieth paths where, because it feels like a story like that is kind of brewing. You see a Tom Kim win a major championship, which is very possible. How does he advance past this point where, one setback can hold you back for a couple of years? Not that that's happened to Morikawa yet. I'm not saying that, but it definitely happened to Spieth. And so we'll see it. But it seems like Tom Kim is that next star that's really a really, really bright light in the game. And he's proving that he really is good. He's not just enjoyable to watch because of his personality. His game backs it up for sure.
Yeah, Tom Kim, a pair of 68s on the weekend en route to a 22 under par T5. KP, I can tee you up on anybody here, but noteworthy other nuggets. Will Zalatoris goes 4 under, 8 under in his first start since injury. Very good showing for Will. Good to see out of the gate.
Yeah, it was. Real quick on Tom Kim. I'm fascinated by him, Craig, because you watch him and you look at his numbers and it doesn't really all add up. He's really short, like almost debilitatingly so, but he's a great iron player. And I think the thing that's really interesting about him that I've gathered, that I've noticed is, this time a year ago, he's playing the Asian Tour, the Sunshine Tour. I mean, he's
mix of all of them, right?
He's won a lot at every level, and every time he jumps up a level, it's almost like he raises his game to that level, which I think is almost a skill in and of itself. And to me, it almost supersedes his, maybe lack of ball speed or length, or a lot of the things that we talk about that are necessary in kind of a modern PGA Tour and especially at major championships. I'm interested to see him at major championships. LACC might be a good spot for him, because it might not require a ton of length off the tee to get around that course. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that on Tom Kim real quick. But Zalatoris was great. Good to see him back. He what did he finish at? 20 under, 19?
20.
It was 20.
Yeah, it's a good week. Nothing crazy, but he's somebody that you want. He's not really a character, but he's interesting because you never know what you're getting on the greens. He's an elite ball striker. He's awesome to watch. He's got some fire. He's fun, and I'm hopeful that he's can stay healthy enough not only to contend at majors again, but also to be on the U.S. Ryder Cup team in September.
Rick, I just want to put a bow really quickly on the three guys you highlighted. First off, Hoagie is a hitter. I mean, that guy, he's not going to go away. He is really, really sound and does so under the radar all of the time. As for Tom Kim, and Max Homa, I'm doing with the PGA Tour again, flying down tomorrow morning, doing some of those swing thoughts. And now the next few golfers they're featuring there's Tiger Woods in there and there's Spieth and stuff. But Tom Kim is one of them, and of course Max Homa is the other. And so I was going through Max Homa's footage this afternoon of the videos they've sent me, and honestly, the guy's golf swing is flawless.
Yeah, it's really good.
And I called him in the match against Tom Kim at the President's Cup for ESPN, and the guy is for real. And I'm so high on Max Homa. I actually said that to Greg last night. I was like, if you're looking for a bet, try and find Max Homa doing something, because I'm expecting that. But I want to say to Tom Kim, because I asked my brother, the President's Cup captain, about Tom, and he said he's got a winner's attitude. Now, I hope he doesn't get mixed up in trying to hit it longer, because that's going to change the dynamics and the nature of his game. If he picks up 10 extra yards or so, great. But be careful of not giving up who you are in the interest of doing that. And so to Trevor, I'm like, so what made him so good? And Trevor's like, when we arrived on site at the President's Cup, I looked at him and I said to him, Tom, I want you. He said to him, are you ready to make the putt to win? And Kim goes, yeah, I am. And so every day, and then Adam Scott hopped on board and he goes, Tom, you're going to make the putt to win. Now, obviously that didn't transpire, But that Saturday evening, when he made that putt to win in that match, where he hit 2-iron into the green versus Sam Burns' wedge, he made that birdie to win the match. Tom goes to them and he goes, well, I guess it wasn't the putt to win, but I made the putt to win. And that's just what Trevor said he was. He's like, this guy has got that mindset, that demeanor where he doesn't back down for anybody, no matter where they're playing from. He's up for it. And so I think, he's not going to go away. He's proved it now, and he's been awfully consistent, throughout. And that victory he had at the Wyndham, where I called him, the guy didn't miss, man. It was incredible to watch under pressure.
I don't disagree with that, but his length is a problem when it comes to majors. There's just not a lot of examples in the modern game of guys that are that short winning. I mean, some of the guys that he's around, it's like Richie Ramsey, Russell Knox, Ian Poulter, Kevin Kisner, like that. And you can win a major. I mean, Patrick Reed's short. Louis Oosthuizen is short. There are examples of it. It's just really difficult to do so. And
I guess it begs the question, how many majors are you expecting this guy to win? Because if he wins two, that's fantastic in a career. I mean,
for sure, but
Morikawa's had an incredible career already.
But we're talking about him like we're throwing around Spieth and JT here. And I just don't think that's the path.
Tom Kim is like, I cannot wait to see how 2022 plays out, because I agree with Kyle for the most part, but those names that you rattled off don't hit it like Tom Kim does. They do not hit their second shots like him. I mean, I guess Kisner could get hot with the putter. He is way better in every facet of the game than those guys. To put a bow on a couple of these items here. So what was Tom Kim doing last January? His first start in January last year, he won the Singapore International, an Asian Tour event. He'd go on to play 5 straight Asian Tour events, then make a DP World Tour start. So quite the come up for the 15th ranked player in the world. And KP, yes, he's short. The next 3 weeks are like short hitters paradise. Tom Kim probably wins 2 of them, and we'll be at full-fledged like Tom Kim mania by the time we get to Augusta National.
I saw somebody, it might have been on Twitter. Somebody said, I can't tell if he has the most swag of anybody in the world, or if he just like has no idea what's going on. Like he was like, it's one of those two, and I can't figure out which one it is, because the way he carries himself is tremendous. I hope he wins 8 majors, because I would love to write about it. He's awesome.
All right, gentlemen, we need to, we're going to talk about some more players, but we're going to do it in the context of reviewing our wagers for this week. And we do, feels good. We do have to update the one and done standings, but first we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. All right, Greg, we're starting off 2023 with some items here. Now, you were not with us to make these picks, so you can give us a little bit of analysis. We found a couple of winners in the matchup department. I had Adam Scott over Billy Horschel. That was no problem. And then KP had Colin Morikawa over Tony Finau, which despite the debacle on Sunday for Colin, this was plenty good. A 4-shot win over Tony.
That's a bold pick for you, Kyle. I'm looking at that coming in thinking we're going to get some really good stuff out of Tony. And I had some questions about Colin. And it seemed like they were all answered for a majority of the 60-some holes in this tournament. All those questions were answered. So it was bold, but it paid off. And Rick, what was your strategy? Are you just picking on Billy Horschel? Just saying this isn't going to be a good spot for him.
Little Billy.
Yeah.
I was just picking on him. I was
just picking on little Billy here. Yeah. I mean, this was a lot closer than I think it should have been. This was like a 13-shot lead going into the weekend, because Billy Horschel was the only guy over par on Thursday, and it got very close on the weekend, and Adam Scott won by 1 shot.
Wow. that narrows quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about the Morikawa meltdown, but nobody talks about Adam Scott.
That's right. He avoids all of that. Mark, I'll throw this to you, because Justin Thomas made the betting board for both Patrick and Kyle here in the finishing position department. I think we could say maybe that was the most disappointing week. He was one of the favorites coming in. He finished T25. He only shot in the 60s once around the Plantation course. I think we were ready for a big Justin Thomas week. We didn't get it.
And I think if you had to ask Justin Thomas that, he'd probably agree with you. I don't know how the form was coming in. We saw him play some in that match with Tiger and Rory and Jordan Spieth, but that was never really a great way to get a barometer, some sort of reading for where the game is. And a lot of these things are, how's the player playing coming in? But I was with you. I'm like, the golf course, he's had so much success around there. He's comfortable. He strikes his irons beautifully, so you expect him. He's long enough to win around that place. But when it gets to be a little bit of a birdie fest, it essentially becomes a putting contest. And everyone sort of knew that 69-ish was par. And so that means you've got to start holding some putts of consequence because of the par fives and stuff. So yeah, it was disappointing. And if I was, making bets, I would have looked for some Justin Thomas bets too, to be truthful.
Well, despite the disappointing week and finishing T25 out of a field of 39, Kyle, he did find you a green little check mark on your best bet because you took Justin Thomas plus 105 over the X-Man, Xander Schauffele, who shoots at opening 70, plays a couple of holes on Friday, and WDs from the Tournament of Champions.
Yeah, I got lucky here. I actually probably got a little lucky on the Morikawa bet too. You referenced it earlier, Greg, but that was really more of a, like, if I could have bet Morikawa over the first 3 months of 2020, I thought Morikawa was undervalued coming into the year. I thought people were kind of like,
fair.
Oh, Morikawa's, like plus money against Finau. I know Finau's form is like, theoretically better or is better, but I was very kind of bullish on Morikawa for the entire year when people were kind of, I don't know, there was just kind of a weird Morikawa thing going on. So, yeah, this was lucky because Xander, a normal Xander week with him being healthy, he would have smoked JT the way that JT played.
Tom Hoagie top 20 at plus 110 was my best bet, Greg. Little disrespect. Maybe I should have said top 5. Tom Hoagie said top 20 is no problem. This guy's kind of a problem. I think we might have talked about this on Monday's show, where I don't think anyone's going to look at Tom Hoagie and say elite athlete, elite golfer. I don't think that's happening. But the way you get a lot of these PGA Tour setups and how Hoagie hits his wedges as well as he does, like he's going to have a great year. It just seems inevitable.
Yeah, there was one area last year where he missed 6 cuts in a row out of nowhere.
Right.
But it's like he just lost something and it came back and it's right back to the Hoagie we know. I mean, he's a guy, I play him in DFS every week. He's the steal of every week. The one thing you got to watch out for now is people are catching on. You watch out for ownership with him. But, I mean, you can almost start your lineup with him. So, and in this tournament, Rick, I like the top 20. I know he gets you way more than that, and it turns out great. But you go shoot 19 under par, and it's a T13, right? I mean, you could play great golf in this event and finish outside the top. I mean, if you shot 16 under, you're outside the top 20. So I think it's a very smart angle to play there. Your odds are probably weaker because it's only, you're talking about top half of the field. Maybe top 10 would have been the play. But still, to finish inside the top 10, which is your next level up, you got to shoot 21 under. Oh, he does it, of course. But I still think you made the right call.
Of course he does. It's Tom Hoagie. He's just the man. Love that guy. Okay. It leaves us with just one final thing to do. And it is, there's some excitement. There's some excitement from the boys about getting to the one and done standings. We'll do that. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners. And we're back. All right, here we go. First tournament out of the gate. And millions have been earned. Millions and millions have been earned. Now it's Death Taxes and Mark Immelman picking winners in one and done, but he was not alone. So, Mark, you hold that thought and you hold that title defense just 1 second, because I'm going to tell you that Kyle Porter is in the lead. When's the last time you were in the lead? Even if it's tied for lead, when was the last time you were in the lead of one and done? You also picked John Rahm.
I think I won. Did I win the 2021? Or
I don't remember.
I don't know. It's been multiple years. In other words,
Craig goes, I don't think so.
Yeah, probably, maybe not.
Well, I think I won that year. I think it went me, Rick, Mark.
Maybe 2020.
Maybe 20. Maybe in your dreams. I don't know if you've ever won it.
2015.
Yeah, feels good to pick a winner out of the gate. I didn't know anybody else had him. I forgot that Mark had him.
Yeah, 2.7 million, Mark. They doubled this purse from last year. So John Rahm gets a big old chunk here for you in your title defense.
Yeah. Look, with a lot of these events now being the elevated events and the bigger purses, I think you're going to see people playing golf is a little different. And I've actually used Rahm at this event before in a previous league that I played in. Just because of the short field and how he plays the golf course well. But the truth be told, I mean, when because I wasn't on your preview show, when I texted Troy, I'm like, when are the picks? And they said, well, tomorrow. And then I'm like, well, I want to go Xander, but I'm unsure about the health. And so I did a little snooping around, and then I decided, well, it's a little bit of a risk. I can think of places I'll play Schauffele later in the year. So I was like, well, just let's go for John Rahm. It's big purse. He's playing well. A golf course suits him. Why not? And so a little fortunate, but I'll take it.
Yeah, let's go to the opposite end here. So 2 picks at the top of the board, 2 picks at the bottom. Sia Nejad continues his mush, and Greg, you fall into the trap as well. Both of you picked Xander Schauffele. I guess the good news is, because he teed off on Thursday, and this was a guaranteed payout, he gets you $200,000 despite not completing the second round.
Yeah, 200 large for an event like an event like this is kind of nice. I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm $2.5 million behind. This is a little disappointing. Clearly, the health was wildly misjudged. And we also have that difficult 5 o'clock Tuesday cutoff. And when things happen Wednesday, you don't really have that option to change. So if I did, I would have changed it, because it seemed like right after the pick was in, I said, I don't even know if he might just hit a shot and walk off just to collect his, minimum wage. So yeah, it's minimum really too bad.
His minimum wage on the tour is $200,000.
I don't think that's what minimum wage looks like. I've got. Can I file a complaint to the league office here?
Sure. We usually just put them right in the shredder, but go ahead.
Okay. I went back and looked at our Tuesday show, and I just texted you guys the screenshot. It looks as if Mark had Xander.
Yeah, but like I said, I texted Troy. I was on vacation, and I said to him when I heard about the Xander injury, I texted him later to the day, and I said, Rahm. It was a pivot.
Oh.
So Mark gets to choose after the show, unlike Greg?
I'll tell you what, this is a pretty interesting development. I did not realize that.
Wow. When was the pivot? That's the question.
What about the cutoff?
I mean, I was under the impression that, and look, I didn't plead for anything. I didn't try to pivot at all. So I'm stuck with Xander, and I own that.
Nothing's really changed, though. I mean, I was getting you guys were changing rules in the playoffs last year too. So say, let's make this thing say, whatever.
Producer Troy, jump in. We need you to weigh in. We. There's a lot going on here. We need some timestamps.
Is this collusion between? This could be collusion between Mark and Troy. Who knows when these texts happen?
This is a full-on conspiracy.
I believe it was Tuesday night. He texted me and said that he wanted to change.
While I was
Tuesday night's pretty vague.
On vacation, I still sent him a picture of my view while I was doing it.
Wow.
Limited service.
And Greg, hold on. Greg is under the presumption that you were not allowed to change, right?
Yeah. I mean, I thought that 5 o'clock Tuesday was our deadline.
Have we?
I may actually have record of me saying that to another friend of mine. Yeah, I can't change, so I'm stuck with it. Because I have a friend who is in a different league, and he was like, I'm going to go with Xander. I said, yeah, me too. And he said, and then all of a sudden it's like Tuesday night, 8 o'clock or so. And he's like, the Xander thing's not looking good. He withdrew from the Pro-Am, yada, yada, yada. But he's like, I'm switching to Rahm. I said, well, yeah, good for you. I can't. We have a strict Tuesday 5 o'clock deadline. Okay. I may have record of that. I got to look around. Okay,
well, speaking of record, here it is. I texted on Wednesday actually. So if you're prepared to dock, if you want to go ahead and dock me this, go right ahead. We can play this game if you want.
I don't know if a docking is in play. I think a stern warning is in play, and if
No. This is nonsense. Nobody we used to have to.
This Mark should have come begging and pleading to the group chat to change, and it could have been a democracy on the spot about whether he was changing or not.
We used to have to submit our pick, and this is, I thought, still the spirit of the rule. We used to have to submit our pick, no changes by Tuesday at 5, right?
That's what I thought.
Go for it.
Unless a player withdrew, right? That we were allowed to sub in for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's been the case in the past. If someone withdrew before the tournament, someone could alternate.
That's right. We have done that. We have allowed for an alternate selection after a golfer has withdrawn after the Tuesday mega preview pod. This is uncharted territories where we're at right now.
We might need to.
Troy's just muted his mic, so I don't think
smart. Troy's the smartest guy here. Muted his mic.
We might need to let the league office deliberate on this a little bit.
This feels like a deliberation.
I'm of the mind that he should keep the 2.7 million, and that he should be on probation, and he should. These issues have to be dealt with in the group chat.
Anyway, okay, cool. Let's. I don't get. I don't. That sounds great, Rick. Thank you. I don't get to be on the pregame show with you guys anymore, so I will make sure that I get my text in on time when it comes to it.
Okay. I think it's fair.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. John Rahm still had to win the golf tournament. It's not like he switched it on Sunday night.
We need an actual. Go ahead, Troy. You were going to say, what's the actual rule?
No, I think you're right, Kyle. Moving forward, 5 o'clock. That's it. I think from here on out, that's it. And if someone withdraws or something like that, we go through.
Here are the two scenarios in which that rule doesn't apply. Your golfer WDs after you select and turn you group chat in an alternate, or if you have a duplicate pick, the group chat picks your golfer for you. That is how we've done it.
Okay. So,
cool with that?
All right, cool. Include me in the group chat, please.
You're in the group chat.
I've got a group.
Mark is,
and Coach is like, would you stop texting me?
Okay, we'll kick Coach out.
Plausible deniability all over the place for Mark here. I was on vacation. I'm not in the group chat. There's a lot. It was Wednesday, not Tuesday.
You know what concerns me, Kyle, is that seasons end. They're still going to be joying about this stuff and be like, well, this is legit. There should be an asterisk next to this, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, for sure.
Well, that's why we're allowing it.
Yeah. So that we have a built-in excuse for the next 34 weeks. Yeah.
That's not a bad thing, I guess.
We should let Kyle M vote on this.
He should just be the complete judge, jury, and execution. He just should decide everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
He was a big hit, by the way.
Yeah, he
de
was
facto
great.
commissioner.
Yeah, he was a big hit.
He didn't know what
I
he was
think we have a
getting
ruling
into.
on Tuesday. Ruling on Tuesday with Kyle.
Yeah.
Lim.
Okay, yeah, that's great.
He
There you
bid
go.
for a little bit more
think I would-
responsibility than.
Yeah, he paid for it.
Yeah.
I would lean toward letting Mark keep the 2.7, but we can let Kyle M jump in there.
Yeah, I think that has to
So
be.
wait, no. So now you guys are going to make me sit and be concerned about this?
No,
No.
I agree. This before we get to the next week, we
Pushing.
have to know how much he has. I think we've got this figured out. We'll get
I think so, too.
Kyle M's
I'll vote-
opinion.
I'll
but we
vote
have
on
this,
that, too.
We have this figured out.
I'll vote on that.
It's done deal. Congratulations, Mark. 2.7 million.
It's sure.
Congratulations.
And-
By
and-
the skin of your teeth.
And unless something crazy happens, it's highly likely that I go with Russell Henley next week. If you guys want to know what I'm going to do,
That's
Well,
what we
just
should
get it
we
in
should-
by
we should
5. You don't
make him
have to
pick.
tell us. Just get it in by 5.
no, because I know because when we did this, when we used to put our picks in a chat and everyone could sort of see, you'd see guys holding out to see who someone played. And the first guy would put up a name, and then it'd be like, well, I can't go with that guy because he's doing X. That was actually more fun.
Yeah, the evolution of how we have put picks in is, and there's always
Yeah.
it's always something.
Well, we need to go back, Troy. We need to go back to the Google or the form,
the blind
the
Yeah, the
Google
Google
form.
form.
because then it's just blind. That's the way to do it. You don't get game theory going on in a group chat with 5 clowns.
Everyone waiting
over
till
here.
4:59 and 59
exactly.
seconds to put their pick in. All right, do we have that a one and done board? We can run through the rest of these. So Greg and Sia 200K. Patrick got 241 from Patrick Cantlay. The fans got 213,000. That was Justin Thomas. I got 265 from Cam Young. Thank you for a decent Sunday. The payouts were pretty small. Like the jumps, the jumps from were pretty small. Kyle M, our big bidder, our super fan, super one and done competitor, went with Victor Hovland, got 229,000. So outside of the 2.7 million for Mark and KP, the rest of us are within.
I
mean,
think it just
$13,000 jump from Xander, who WDs to Justin Thomas.
yeah, that's tough. I think it speaks to somebody was talking about this earlier, but the elevated events, I refuse to call them designated events. I'm going to call them elevated events. Are going to be so. I mean, 240. Patrick got 240 for Cantlay. That's going to be like third place this week at the Sony. Maybe not third, but top 5, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have to get your timing right. You're gonna have to be
you're
good.
Gonna if you nail a couple of the elevated events, like if you hit a Players winner or Riviera winner or whatever, you're gonna be sitting pretty. You're gonna be in the driver's seat.
Yeah. What's the Players gonna be this year?
Like 80 million or something.
I think it's 25 million.
25,
Yeah.
and what's first? 18%. Is that what they do?
Yeah, I think it's
3.8 or something.
Yeah, 4.
Well, 18% of 25 is 4.5.
Jeez, that's like half of a winning total for a previous year.
That's like Jack Nicklaus's career earnings.
It's more.
It's unreal.
Any final thoughts, gentlemen?
JT at the Players.
Before we put a bow on.
He's gonna go back to back since they erased Cam. Which, by the way, that's like Cam Smith won the 2022 Players. Like, can we just admit that? Like, the whole erasure thing it's a bit much.
They still have the Australian flag flying at TPC Sawgrass.
Good, they should.
I will say this, Players. I've got my eye on one Tom Kim. Since we've been talking about him, if there was a golf course built for a human being, those two, that's a match made in heaven right there.
I like that.
Me too.
Sony Open. DFS preview on Monday, mega preview pod on Tuesday.
5 p.m. deadline Tuesday.
Also known as our deadline.
Yeah,
for the
you're
one and done
telling us.
selections. Yeah, now Mark's real strict on the deadline. Round by round recaps after each round next week. Big thanks to producer Troy, does all the hard work behind and in front of the scenes. Mark Immelman available at Mark_Immelman. Greg DuCharme, the real GFD. Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. You can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. We'll catch you next time.